Hello. Welcome to the Xirtus.
Do try to be laser focused and high energy today. We are talking about self-esteem. No, I hear an echo. Anybody else?
I hear the echo. I don't think it's my fault. Not it.
Dave is a newcomer.
There's still an echo.
You fixed it so fast. That was like quick draw McGraw. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
speaker's
right.
on.
I have some things that we obviously want to go into that. Welcome to SYNCTANK, everybody. The bugs whacked us, Johnny. I don't know, like Maui. We'll have to get into that. Like we talked about that a little bit already, but it's just crazy looking at it. And maybe there's ways that we can frame that'll keep us out of trouble. But first, I just wanted to tip my hat off to Thomas because he talked about the Mozart Masonic masterpiece that is the Magic Flute Opera. And so I was kind of like looking into that a little bit to see who else was interested in this. And this is a pretty mainstream one. I didn't realize how like everybody, like mainstream society. Look at this video. Somebody made a cartoon series about Mozart joining the Freemasons. You know, he has to go through the secret hall. There's like, I just wanted to like share that. Like people should definitely like go watch this. It's like Mozart joins the Freemasons. I don't know if I can show how the ritual goes. Not because it's authentic.
Do they use Betty Boop at the end to get him to finally go for it?
It's like a Nexium kind of thing. Yeah, it's
there's also a Nintendo Switch game called Mozart's Requiem, which kind of touches on this. So yeah, when you say mainstream, it definitely is, but it's also very niche. Mozart Requiem, that's the name of the game. Yep.
Wow, they really went hard. Like, see, I love how is it just me or does Japan really study the Illuminati conspiracies better than we do? Like, I think we're losing to Japan in the Illuminati study race. There was this
Japan has a deeper history than everybody can expect because
of being attacked by the Freeman. Yeah, probably. This is what also there's like a TEDx about what the magic flute's about. There's like the dragon tries to eat this kid and he's like worshiping the goddess of the night who turns out to be the bad guy to his shock. So he has to change sides with the princess, right? Because he's like, oh, I shouldn't be like plunging the world into darkness, which is really interesting because it's like, wait, are you saying that all the religions are inverted and wrong and backwards and that we have to fix them? Because that's pretty close to what anthropologists are saying today, basically, about Etruscan and Latin. I like it. But yeah, maybe it was a little much in the 17th, 18th century for them to like just tell everybody what was going on so blatantly, because he invited non-Freemasons to see it as well. I guess that's kind of the issue.
This is so cool. I didn't know about either of these animations, and now they're like they're at the top of my list.
This is a freaking TED Ed, okay? I mean, like, if anyone tries to burn you for saying anything, just remember that it's like just point.
It's citation. YouTube. It's YouTube that's gonna do it. They're gonna give the little like disclaimer that's like, Freemasons were founded in the 1700s.
Bruh, look at this. Do you see one? Do you see one?
I don't.
you
Yeah,
see
no,
one?
Ted doesn't get him, man.
Check that out. That's pretty good. Give me some oats, brother. Okay, so you get it. There's a couple more nuanced, interesting things about the music, but the things that Thomas was talking about, they're all in this video. It's worth checking out. Okay, so then
Who owns Ted? By the way, who actually owns Ted? I never could figure out who was that. Was it corporation like the WEF own them?
Just want to say New Anomaly Productions has become a member. Thank you very much. You follow in the footsteps of other great souls like Anthony, and Andrew, and
Cool avatar too.
And there's like more members. We love you all. Brittany's a member. Travis is a member. Look at Travis McClung's a member. Isn't Travis a year deep? So yeah, we're all trying to be like Travis, I think is the point. Hail Travis. Okay, laser beam D's. Are we gonna get to that, or did you want to wait? Eddie, did you deeper?
Yeah, I want to get into that. I mean,
okay. Also, Alex is here. Alex, do you want to get into being high energy and laser focused? You know who really does the most probably is David. I just wanted to start with like the premise of it. So everyone, just so you know, if you're watching this in some sort of like timeline change, or you're living under a rock, there's this whole thing with Maui. 99 dead, 1,300 still unaccounted for. Maui braces for more heartfelt fire news. It's pretty much it's Starship Troopers is what it feels like. And but what are we gonna do about it? Oh, and then there was that other thing with it. Look, this is what happened that day, right? It's just basically what happened was, The Simpsons did it. So where was it? There was an article there. Oh, it's here on the X page. David found this. You found this. President Biden said, "We're laser focused on getting aid to survivors, including critical need assistance, a one-time $700 payment per household, offering relief during an unimaginably difficult time." I'm sorry, it just feels like he's a Klingon who's taking.
Yeah, first of all, he clearly, I very much doubt that Biden ever freaking touches Twitter, and so whoever it is that's running his Twitter account, like for them to put it in those terms, say whatever you want to about whether or not you think that that's what actually happened or not, but it's like, it's known that people think that. So to write that, whatever the case, is very much in all those people's face,
Right.
And like,
right. I should have said, like, this is already like the Associated Press is saying, hey, look at all these crazies saying that there's like a directed energy weapon and it's all fake, of course, and here's evidence against it. But they're like fighting fire with fire by telling you about it. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of you didn't see this edited clip of a Russian explosion yet, and they're telling you it exists just so that you don't think
can I just say that I'm surprised that I haven't heard anyone else mention this, and I'm not saying this is what it is, and I'm not going to argue that, but my knee jerk was knowing that there's such a serious meth problem on Maui specifically, and the Big Island as well. But it's pretty extreme. And when people are cooking meth, you want to talk about a fire hazard. All it takes is one place to blow up, and that.
Were they cooking meth on Oprah's farm?
No, obviously that's why it's unsinged. But yeah, right. along with a lot of other celebrities.
I thought that's part of her.
The point is, when you do meth, you see bugs, and so that's another synchronicity. Hold on, let's get to
bug. Yes,
Ellison is the devil, but also a god. It's like one of those Dungeons and Dragons characters, but he owns the 6th largest island in Hawaii. If you actually look at a map, here's the islands that we're most familiar with, even though there's actually more of them. This red one here is not really red, but that one belongs to Ellison, essentially. He owns like 96% of this island right there. That's pretty based. I mean, pretty evil.
Can't see anything.
Yeah, it's like, oh no, I'm sorry. That was just for me. That wasn't for you.
Yeah,
I just wanted to get to see it. He owns this. He owns this island right here.
It's like a placenta.
Here's the red showing you like how significant in size it is also. And how much of Hawaii it is really. But yeah, so there's a lot of rich people. That island didn't catch fire. Lucky Larry.
Well, I mean, there's a narrative going on. Well, you probably remember back in February, NASA said that China was blasting lasers over Hawaii's airspace, the green lasers. And then yesterday they just announced that China has a weapon refined enough to basically the laser can destroy things unstopped because it can regenerate energy continuously.
Good guy, China over there.
So there's a cone of silence around the whole Lahaina area. Like media is just not allowed in. People aren't allowed in.
Yeah, they've like quarantined the whole area, and they're saying that they're going to keep it quarantined for months, 2 months or something,
yeah, sure.
or maybe longer than that. I can't remember what I read, but yeah, and you're getting these videos coming out from like locals and stuff, and they're pretty freaking horrific, describing bodies floating in the water, and how hard it is that they're the ones left to getting supplies to people, and then they're scared at the same time, and it's just like it seems like really obvious, like where is the National Guard and FEMA? Like it seems like it's taking them an awful long time. Like we could probably get goods to Ukraine before we could get it to a state in the United States.
Is the official death toll still at 93? Because it's been 93 for like 3 days straight. So I'm like,
that's meaningless. They don't know. They're not releasing the official death toll, even what they know yet. I don't think.
I know, but that number 93 has been hanging for 3 days. So I'm like, this is deliberate.
That's the number they picked, right?
Yeah.
I think this is what happens when FEMA doesn't have like the Cajun Navy to fall back on and pick up all their slack.
Sorry, I just have a bunch of Starship Trooper memes I wanted to get through.
Well, I love the idea too that Starship Troopers and meth, like maybe the meth heads of today are truly in training in like the bug wars of tomorrow.
It feels like we're getting close to
is
that.
dead bug.
But yeah, I mean, the other thing is, so you also have a population of people that are presented with honeypotted Russian edited footage or whatever it is that's like fake. So, there's a bunch of fake information being thrown out there so that if anyone were to accidentally find like the one true footage of it, it would be really hard to discern between all the fake footage, or even just what I thought was funny is Snopes and everything. Was this the one? One of them was like, actually, this is another directed energy weapon in another country.
But isn't this like
that's kind of like
Simon
not fair,
didn't
right?
say?
Yeah.
Isn't this just like the common issue with these things? It's like 9/11 or COVID or whatever. It's like we're like, okay, well, you have a situation now at this point. We can debate what the ultimate cause of that is, but meanwhile, look at the opportunism. And when they make it so that if you bring up the blatant opportunism that's taking place and people buying up what they can immediately, and some of it looks pre-planned, but even if it isn't, it's like, look at what they're doing. And it's funny because if you talk about that stuff, people will just immediately go into the crazy conspiracy causal level. It's like, even if you like, in other words, if you were to say something about the Patriot Act, and then they're like, oh, so you're saying it's an inside job. It's like, you know what, whether or not it was an inside job or not, the Patriot Act is pretty messed up. So like it almost becomes irrelevant in a way. I mean, it's relevant to me, but
Starship Troopers is an inside job. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever thought about that?
Absolutely.
Right. I think this is kind of an interesting thing for a couple of reasons. One, because there's a lot of evidence for it. The other is because it's before 9/11. This is 97 or something that this movie comes out.
Mm-hmm.
And what it's really about in a lot of ways is about how this complacent but totally world pieced out world, because they've gotten to a point where the Nazis in space have basically won all of the planet over, right? So they own everything. So who's going to be their new enemy? And they get what's his friend, the Doogie Howser kid. He, the scientist. Yeah, he kind of engineers this. He sets it up. He gives the coordinates. He makes sure that she's the right captain in space, so that she ends up changing the coordinates, which allow for the ship to go by, and forces this asteroid to hit Buenos Aires, destroying Buenos Aires, right? And if it weren't for the fact that he engineers this to make sure that a certain amount of deaths happen, that are enough people connected to their families, that these soldiers are going to fight in tooth and nail so that they can conquer this otherwise kind of, what is this bug planet that's so far away, right? I mean, why? How is it possible that an asteroid is getting past all of our security otherwise?
It's a meta film. It really is, because it is a propaganda film. It's made to be itself a propaganda film, and it's a satire on propaganda, which is just, I don't know how many examples of films like that exist. But
Robert Heinlein, the author, he was a propaganda officer, wasn't he?
Well, Heinlein actually like entertained, like, this film is almost a satire on Heinlein's own ideology.
It's really the director who he's a Dutchman who like saw the Nazi occupation as a child, I think is the deal. Paul Verhoeven or whatever. Verhoeven. he saw the Nazi occupation as a child, and he was interested in how propaganda worked because it was like his earliest memories, and then being told, no, all of that was a lie. It's like, wait, really? I mean, that's because they told me it was the truth. Like, yeah, they'll do that, and so that was really fascinating to him as like an 8-year-old.
I have a funny little story. Can I tell the story real quick? I was working at Sony Men in Black, right? So the other side project that was happening, which is now something I worked on, is called Roughnecks, which is it's based on Starship Troopers, the animated series. It's all CG animated. So the movie came out. So the entire animation crew were invited to the main lot to watch the movie. We went to what was that screening room? But it was in the Columbia lot. So we went to see it. We got out. So we were having lunch next door to the lot, and then the table next to us was Paul Verhoeven, and he was eating alone by himself. And I was kind of like, mischievous. So I just look at my coworkers. Like, hey guys, that movie wasn't called Starship Troopers. It really sucked, huh? And I was like a little loud about it. And my coworker just like, everybody knows that he's right there. And then I turn around and there's Paul Verhoeven just give me the death stare. Like,
do you not love that movie?
It's so good, but that's the thing.
Him because it's
no, it's
I would get a tattoo for Starship Troopers. It's like the best movie. I think it's better than Citizen Kane. It's up there with. I mean, I
actually like the movie. I do like the movie, but I decided to pull a prank.
It's increased in value by its accessibility. Because there's a lot of movies out there like Pi. I mean, there's not that many, but there's some really amazing, deep, profound, esoteric movies, and Starship Troopers is one of them. But Starship Troopers is like PG-13 or whatever it is. It's like Blockbuster has cuts of it for TV.
Oh, it's R.
Well, okay, I've seen it on TV though. Like it's been
boobies.
cut. They cut out boobies for TV and they make that movie accessible. I mean, and I remember seeing that movie as like an 8-year-old. So maybe it's my fault, but I remember that movie being presented as for like children to go see a movie about killing bugs, about America. It's for Americans. It's for Americans to go see a movie about killing bugs.
Well, this was right on the cusp too of like between PG-13 and R being able to show boobies.
True. Yeah, they kind of changed the rules.
But the violence is really intense.
Great. It was PG-13. It reminded me of what I mean. Imagine you were a kid and you saw Star Wars as a kid. It's the same thing. Like it used to be, and it's a movie about violence and fascism. And
it's a great film.
It's crazy because kids are going in there thinking families. I mean, I don't know. I feel like a lot of people saw that movie thinking, "Hey, we're just gonna go see a movie about killing bugs."
Right, but it's a litmus test because when people go to it, it's like it really. Which side are you on? Like what position are you going to take? Like you're going to be rooting for these Starship Troopers, or you do care about the bugs? And the bugs are just bugs. It's a perfect way to go about that because you can really dismiss the bugs because they're just bugs. Like who cares about bugs, right? But they're really big bugs. So it's like it's artful in that way.
Kafkaesque. Yeah, it's the whole idea, but it's also so that it puts you in the perspective of a fascist. So the entire movie. You've got Paul Verhoeven. Showing scenes that you might have seen if you'd ever seen like war tribunal footage. Like here's footage of a soldier saying, "I'm from Buenos Aires," and I say, "Kill them all." And it's because his whole family just died, and they caught him just after he found out his family died. And so now you got a collection of propaganda that reinforce this thing that he doesn't necessarily believe or understand. He's not an expert in the opinion, but it pushes the metaphor, it pushes the agenda of the state. And that's, I think, what's amazing about the movie, because it shows you what happens when people are pushing and they all believe in a thing, even if the audience doesn't really believe in that thing, because we're constantly looking at something we're inside of and we're like, oh, this isn't bad. It's woke. This is exactly what we're supposed to be doing, right?
Well, this is all continuing narrative from the alien invasion agenda they've been building for the last several decades. It's like uniting the world with a united front. The alien bastards.
The face peelers. Have you guys heard of this story? The Peruvian face peelers.
Oh yeah, that was. There's no. I don't see any footage of anything.
There's just like a footage of like a dead body supposedly with its face off.
Doesn't sound fun. But that could happen, right? I mean,
I gotta connect that the face off. I never did.
Peru's a wild place for a lot of reasons. Like there are animals out there,
It's like the tourist zone for
and
ayahuasca.
Also a lot of people will kill witch doctors, because there's a really weird Catholic conservative population in Peru that hate the local magic and local indigenous practices, and they kill them. And I've seen horrible things happen, that are just assassinations of witch doctors.
That's why in Brazil they decided to pull the constitution to protect the ayahuasqueros, the ayahuasca witch doctors, because they try to merge it with the Catholic religion. Santo Daime, that's what it's called. Santo Daime is the fusion of Catholic Church and the local Amazon practice of ayahuasca.
That's right. Pretty great, right? And then there's also a Muslim one. There's like a Sufi, Peruvian Sufi Islamic sect, which is pretty radical too. But Star Trek Discovery is basically Starship Troopers. It's super fascistic. It's woke. That's the only difference, right? I mean, so they've got, what's the deal? It's like the gay doctor dies trying to save his mushroom scientist boyfriend, who figures out that space is made up of mycelial networks, and he genetically modifies himself by injecting tardigrade DNA into himself. I mean, it's all of the stuff that people love, right? Like, people love mushrooms, people love tardigrades. This is stuff that we all talk about. They just made it slightly woke. And so it's going to make the same kind of argument. Someone's like, oh, this is fascistic because it's forcing its narrative. It's the same narrative as Starship Troopers, right? I mean,
how did we get to Starship Troopers from Maui?
because we never got to the direct energy weapons.
The direct energy weapon. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, wait, no, we didn't say bro. That was supposed to be the. Now I feel like we just kind of spelled something out for people. Oh well, that's okay. The point is, it's laser focused and high energy.
Before we get sidetracked away from Hawaii, you guys noticed the police chief of Maui, right? John Pelletier.
Yeah, same guy.
He was in Las Vegas when the Harvest Festival mass shooting happened. He was in charge of the investigation, and then somehow he just quit his job and just went to Maui, and then this happened. So. Well, that was 2017, right, when the mass shooting happened in Las Vegas.
I gotta check the time period.
Something's wrong with this guy, so
there's straight up articles about it, though. Look at the Independent. Even got this. Like, Joe Biden announced federal aid packet. Conspiracy theorists went into a meltdown. We're laser focused on getting aid to survivors. The president wrote, apparently unaware of the bogus claims circulating in the media. So, there's already. I mean, it's just so much work. This is so recent, and to put so much effort into. Just dismissing this, it just seems crazy, right?
Well, where's the fucking PR team to say, hey, maybe you don't want to phrase it that way? It seems like a PR team that's like, you do want to phrase it that way, so we can use it as a straw man. So if anybody has anything negative to say about it, we can be like, you crazy conspiracy theorist, what are you saying? So even if you point out the opportunism, the blatant opportunism that's taking place, they can point to that and be like, oh, you fucking crazy person. Seems what it looks like to me.
Well, the quote, I believe it's Eric Holden, was "Never let a good tragedy go to waste."
There it is.
That's what a lot of people have been quoting that lately. The 9/11, Emmanuel, what's his name? The Chicago mayor. He also said it on 9/11. They'll never let an opportunity go to waste. But
I just checked the time interval between the Las Vegas shooting and today, basically, or this past week, and it's 306 weeks, which is 153 times 2. And so I looked the midpoint of that, and it was during the California wildfires in 2020. So, I mean, that was in September 6, 2020. So
that was fucking terrifying for me, man. I had fires on both sides of my house. In both directions. I was really scared, actually.
And then there was that house that blew up in
Let's
Pennsylvania.
not forget what he did, right? Like, he called it.
That one looks like a meth explosion.
Well, there's a guy in my comments that says that was street. He lives down the block from that house, and that there have been 5 houses in his near area that have exploded in the past 6 months or whatever. 5 houses have exploded, but this is the only one that's gotten any coverage. So. That's kind of weird and scary.
What about Biff Tannen's Pleasure Paradise?
It was immediate. As soon as he said pleasure, it was immediate. I don't know if you guys experienced the same, but it's just like that association was already there. And it's like, did he really just combine paradise and pleasure just like that? Like
Biff Tannen would call that a ritual.
So hard. I was hoping for it to happen, but not that way. You know what I mean? It's like,
right. Not like this.
Yeah, not like this.
Andreas, this is just crazy sync because I just posted it this afternoon. Go to my Twitter.
Yeah.
And I would just try and tell because Trump is being indicted, arrested, whatever. So I just decided to post this just to shut people up, but nothing new. But you keep scrolling down. Keep going. I think it's coming up. Let's see how far.
They need to have him
there
do
you
that
go.
walk of shame from Game of Thrones.
Yeah, you just posted this, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I just posted it. So
Trump is the Tower Temple builder Biff Hiram Abiff. He is a high level Freemason. People can mock
speculative.
I mean, come on, Hiram Abiff. That's like the best. It's got to be Biff. Hiram Abiff.
Right.
He is the widow's son, the traveling square man, your brothers from another mother. He will get stuck 3 times and play dead to time eternal and get resurrected on the checkered floor on the Grand Lodge. Also, he lives with his grandma. Remember, isn't that like the whole thing? Biff Kenn's widow's son. He lives with his grandma.
Do not Elizabeth Christ Trump. Elizabeth Christ Trump.
Yeah, do not be stupid. Do not take Elizabeth Christ Trump's name in vain. All the world's a stage. Your vote never counts. They all think we are profane, uninitiated goys. Stop playing their gamers. This is a quotation, by the way. I didn't write that.
It was my news report, Yeah. But anyways, but I just thought it was hilarious that I didn't know Trump was saying paradise, and I was like, whoa, he actually said that.
I think it's interesting. I mean, yeah, that's
his.
Most Freemasons are goyish, by the way, just to be clear.
Yeah, that's true.
Just to be fair.
The deadline is August 25th, right? And that's the 237th day of the year. That's going to be the anniversary, the 42nd times 2 anniversary of the Wizard of Oz release on the 237th day of 1939, and on. The 42nd anniversary of when Voyager flew past the planet Saturn. For the closest time, so that's probably when we'll get the mugshot, maybe. Or it's whatever. All part of the plan.
Andreas, I totally. I was sharing this because of the Star Trek thing. This was in response to Summer Hart. She's a porn star, but she was sharing about the Star Trek that you were talking about around the woke issues around that or whatever. So, and then brought up Star Wars because somebody in some Reddit thread or whatever was saying like, oh, the rebels can't be the U.S. because that would imply they were the bad guys or something if it was like an allegory for Vietnam. But I was just pointing out that like if you read the book from George Lucas, like his original Star Wars book, like it's way more, the Vietnam connection is way more blatant. And so it's not just that, it's that we have in Star Wars encoded the way in which a republic gets established, becomes an empire, gets attacked by rebel forces, which are terrorists, depending on perspective, and then those terrorists.
Of Star Wars is literally American graffiti in space. It's just like they're trying to join the
rebels. That's true.
Yeah,
that's absolutely true, and that's why like Richard Dreyfuss gets jumped into the Pharaohs. That's not a mistake. You know what I mean? Like that's the gang, when he puts the chain to the cop car and it loses its axle. But and then there's also the thing with Altamont. So like, have I talked about this on here before? I don't know. Like, so I got a friend. I don't think he would mind if I said his name, but his name is Jacob Berner. And I argued with him for so long because he was telling me that George Lucas got the money shot at Altamont of the stabbing with the Hell's Angel. And I was like, no way, that's ridiculous. Well, he showed me incontrovertible proof with photographic evidence from taken right at the time in which that stabbing happened. And George Lucas's hand is on the camera. If you go to Wikipedia and you look up like George Lucas at Altamont, it'll say he was a cameraman, but he did not take credit for that. So, but the thing is like that has some like weird implications. Like if he actually got that shot, because there's so much to it. There was a tarp where the stabbing happened, and there's nothing else around, like as it happened, like not after the fact. And it's like the camera, how did they catch that shot? Like that is a crowd of people, and they got a close up of the stabbing taking place. And so, yeah, it's pretty freaking weird. But yeah, there's a few things in that bit of writing there. I can't remember everything I said, but we can't
really bring Star Wars up and talk about anomalies and all of these like conspiracies without mentioning that Han shot first. And I truly feel that that's the most important discussion you could ever have about Star Wars, because not only did he shoot first, but then as soon as people noticed it, they deleted that scene and they basically rewrote the entire history of Star Wars. So when someone says, are the rebels the good guys or the bad guys? I guess, I don't know. Like, depends on what you think about an aggressor in a war. Is the first person that shoots
Right.
somebody else in a war, is that the good guy or the bad guy? And I wonder if it was truly an oversight and they were just like, oh crap, I guess rebels really were the bad guys.
Dude,
or if that was a
totally.
planned thing.
But
An
it's like
early
the first
example of
Tom
the
and Jerry.
Mandela effect.
But Han's
when-
not shooting in a rebel like he's not in that circumstance. He's just trying to get out of a debt that he has. He's like forced to
Right.
become a rebel, which is so true. Like a lot of people are forced to join, a lot of people that are on the fringe of society. I mean, watch Casablanca, that's how that works.
Is it a thing that like
Live to
he's Greedo because it's greed, or is it because he's like a Guido, like, or is it
A little
both?
bit of both, I think, is the
Okay.
deal.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You
yeah,
know,
no, I actually, you're totally right, Thomas. And I would take it further. I'd say that concept of who shot first with Greedo and Han, you could apply that to the Phantom Menace as a movie about false flag terrorism. Because what is the Phantom Menace but false flag terrorism? I swear to God, Andreas and I have discussed this at length, and it's super fascinating. The idea that, like, when you look at the release dates of the Star Wars prequels, the way they align with bookending 9/11, and then the second inauguration of George W. Bush. Not that it's the day, but it's what was happening culturally in America at that time. And I would say, I don't know if there's like a greater like direct representation of what was actually taking place in terms of diplomacy and America in film, more so than the Star Wars prequels.
Well, especially you think about when George Lucas said he wasn't going to make another Star Wars again, and then George Bush got into politics, and he's
Right.
like, I have to make another Star Wars again, and it was like right after he's like, that was almost like the response to finding out that the Bush family was going to, and Cheney were going to be back in, because he had a familiarity with it, and his whole idea about Star Wars is to talk about the dismantling of democratic process through misinformation, democracy, the bank systems, and everything else. But really, he only got in there because they were looking for someone they could trust to take over after Jodorowsky screwed up Dune for them.
Yeah.
Who can we get who's actually going to make?
I don't think Jodorowsky screwed up Dune for them. I think every studio that he pitched it to screwed it up for him. But yeah,
I think they just didn't. I think literally he, if you've seen interviews with his son and you start to find out a bit about what he
I've seen interviews with his son.
He's a wild dude, and he probably had like a no strikes policy, and I think it was probably an affair with somebody. He probably did something to that effect, but he was pretty much blacklisted. And that meant that project wasn't going to take off the ground unless they had someone else. And Lynch, was a USC student as well. They were like, okay, let's do an entire generation of USC student directors. We can trust them.
Right. Well, the thing with him I don't mind just playing like conversational leapfrog here, but like,
that's all we do.
He was set to have a big presentation done of his life's work. And I forget what country it was in. I think it may have been France or something, but the curator, something of that capacity, basically shut it down because he came across a quote from Jodorowsky from back at the time in which he was speaking to when he did El Topo. And there's a scene in El Topo that we don't actually see. So there's like they filmed it, but we don't have access to that. But we have a portion of it, and the portion is included in the movie as part of the storyline.
Like the Mormon Book of Lehi, yeah.
The bit of context with Jodorowsky is that he's doing these kind of like, I don't know what you'd call it, almost like workshop intensives, like the whole time he's filming his movies. And so people are doing this intensive therapy work. And what happened was he had a rape victim who was basically acting in his movie, and he reenacted a rape for her to basically act in a different way than she had at the time of her trauma. So she beat up Jodorowsky, or to what extent I don't know, but she hit him a bunch of times, and he allowed it to happen because as part of the therapy, because he's just like, hey, I'm on the cross here, like taking it on for her own, her own processing. And so years later, speaking to the event, he said, I raped her. I really raped her. And this curator or whatever he was like, this is unacceptable. We can't have this. But it was a regressive therapy process that he was doing that he totally qualified. And this is the problem when you want to take something completely out of context. At that time, I don't know if that had to do with like an ESG score, and they were just like, oh, we won't get our life raft in the future if we go along with someone like this. I don't know what it was, but whatever the case, worth mentioning, because there's a lot of misconceptions around there on that one, because people still will see the quote and they'll have that reaction and be like, oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, but it was like Gestalt process. I mean, the other thing is just like George Lucas himself is looking at Star Wars and what they created, because you've got this like Jedi altar boy kind of thing where these kids are being stripped from their parents and they're told that they're never going to see their parents again, and they're monarch programmed to never be able to love and have attachment and all this stuff. And it's pretty interesting that those are supposed to be the good guys, but they end up destroying themselves anyway. And Yoda kind of lets it happen because he knows it's true. He's like, yeah,
right.
There's a lot of, there's some dark stuff going on in the
y'all know what Yoda means? Because in two languages. Yeah, so Yoda is Hebrew for one who knows. And it's the same root word as like da'at when you say like the knowledge. And so, and it also in Sanskrit, Yoda means great warrior. And so what does Luke say when he meets Yoda and he says, I'm looking for a great warrior? And Yoda's response is, oh, but wars did not make one great, or whatever, something against, Yoda talk. But so in one sentence, Yoda shows that he is both a great warrior. He is a great warrior. We know that about him. And he shows that he's also at the same time one who knows, because he knows that wars do not make one great.
He knows all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's like
who did the voice of Yoda, right? Oz.
Yeah.
Frank
right.
Oz. Yeah.
Yeah. And Oz's movies are nuts. Like, I mean, his Bowfinger about like the Scientology group that's in LA and everything. Like, he does some pretty interesting stuff.
Yeah. He did the Dark Crystal with Jim Henson. They did that together.
Yeah, he has some thoughts on the world.
He's the voice of Miss Piggy.
But what's the deal then?
Miss Piggy is Yoda, right?
Is there a benefit?
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Is there a benefit to this like Bolshevik style destruction of the family nucleus? Because people argue like against Star Trek or for Star Wars, let's say. And it's interesting. They're for the Jedi. They're for this thing. That's the whole point of it, is to destroy the family nucleus.
What was it? The old blog thing that was called like the Skywalker paradigm. It was kind of like a radical revisioning of thematic rendering of the Star Wars, where basically that Luke is the villain and he is insane, and Darth Vader is the hero, and the Jedi are all crazy, and it basically inverts the whole thing. It was like, I don't know if it's even on the internet anymore, but it's still something I think about a lot.
I would like to see that.
Let's not ignore the fact
Skywalker paradigm, if you can find it. But
let's not ignore the fact that there's incest going on in this Skywalker Ranch.
Skywalker Ranch, yeah.
At the ranch itself, there's incest going on. Tell me about it, Eddie.
Skinwalker. I think that there is a good point that like Star Wars is maybe more like we need to reanalyze this idea, but also understand like what is the reason that they keep pushing for the destruction of the family nucleus? Why is it? I mean, so many people, they think they understand Star Wars. Okay, so then argue for it, because then that'll help you understand the other side more. I mean, that's all I'm kind of saying about the Star Trek thing. What I was trying to say really is some people are violently opposed to fascism and they love Starship Troopers. And that's a good reason to watch Star Trek, because Star Trek is violent fascism, right? That's all it is.
Right. But the thing about George Lucas is that he's like, I'm not the one, man. Like, I'm telling the story over here, but I'm Darth Vader. So that's why that Wired cover is the way that it is, where it's half Darth Vader, is because he said that. They're asked, which character do you identify the most with? And he's like, well, Darth Vader. And it makes total sense. Look, he never directed another movie after Star Wars. He did THX 1138 after doing Electric Labyrinth in college, which is just like THX, but not as cinematic. But yeah, so and then THX 1138
and
is
the young
freaking
Indiana Jones series. To be fair, kind of.
He didn't direct it though.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that's what that's the only
George
thing
Lucas directed the Young Indiana Jones Chronicles.
Yeah, and then he didn't direct anything else until then, and then he decided to do the Star Wars movies. Because
man, Andreas, you're great, man. I stand reflected, man. You're helpful.
$1 million an episode. Yeah, he got to do it.
Is that what it was? Wow, holy shit.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I don't know. He just fascinated with Gestapo. In 1984, everything's all like, look at the THX 1138. It's just all about dystopia. And
The cost of
fascism.
society. Oh, this is great. Look what Paranoid Americans.
Yeah,
made here.
someone brought up Star Wars and incest, so I had this series called I Am Your Father.
Oh, brutal.
You know what? They didn't know. She didn't know. You know.
Yeah, it's not quite as Caligula.
It's like Maury Povich. You are the father.
Yeah.
Right. Bob's your uncle too. While you're at it.
I mean, I just the thing about it is that you got these people that are in the 60s. They're saying we're going to build the future. That's what I see in Star Trek and in Star Wars. And Star Trek says the world's going to be a perfect place because it's run by the military completely. Star Wars, it's a little bit more nuanced than that, but it seems like it's a religious order. So it's kind of this occult thing that controls everything, but it's still ableism. And so they're trying to break up the family nucleus because that's what's allowing for some people to get ahead and some people to fall behind. I mean,
yeah, I'm just gonna say straight up that like I don't always do this with conspiracy theories, but I'm pretty sure that fucking George Lucas got a deal by basically participating in a giant PR event, if you want to call it that. Basically, like Woodstock was relatively a success, right? As far as like violence or terrible, would have that many people gathered, and it was like a whole statement. And like Altamont is like the lunar festival, if that was a solar festival, you know what I mean? Like, and it's like the sympathy for the devil while the stabbing happens. Like it feels very like Eagles of death metal in France, like with that shooting. Like it's just like so
sketchy
the
things
thing
everyone just ignores about George
Yeah.
Lucas. He's really obsessed with Howard the Duck. I guess that's fair. It's
David, did you just say that by accident? Because
which part?
The trailer of the Dial of Destiny is sympathy for the devil. You know that?
Is it really? I didn't know
Yeah.
that. I haven't seen it.
Yeah,
Dude, that's crazy. So I'm telling you, man, that this is like a crazy thing with George Lucas that he basically like participated. It's kind of like whatever George Sr. did for the Kennedy assassination or something. You know what I mean? Like where you participate and you get some kind of treatment or deal, like with your ability to keep your mouth shut. Like because Freemasonry too. It's all about secrecy. I'm not saying that George is a Freemason. I'm just saying like that principle of like someone can show that you're like, oh look, this person can keep a secret. And we got them to a degree, I think George is one of those, man.
Yeah, so his mother died when he was young, and like he was raised by some theosophical teacher or something. He had some lady that helped him.
He's
as
the
a
son
kid.
of Dorothy.
Yeah, he had all kinds of like interest, and so he, and a lot of the Young Indiana Jones series kind of reflects like his both true childhood and his desired childhood. Like it shows like what he wished he had that he didn't have. Because his mother died when he's young, but you also see his mother getting sick and him getting sick, like the reflection, and all those things. So yeah, and his father owned like a stationery store, so I can only imagine like what he was, doing involved with the Post and everything else. I mean, the Post General Master, like they have they're their own little clubs. But did you guys see the new movie? Did you see the new Indiana Jones yet?
No, Bill did. I haven't seen it.
So I was in Bosnia with my brother and dad, and my dad got like he needed to see a movie, so I finally downloaded this movie and we projected it. And it was like, I mean, yeah, I think can you say that you watched?
Isn't it like 3 hours long? Is it Oppenheimer length? That seems like the one you should play with Oppenheimer more so than Barbie.
It was pretty long. It's pretty rad. I don't know if you guys don't want to go into spoilers. I don't have to talk about it too much.
I don't want to go too much into spoilers because I do plan to watch it as soon as there's a better pirated version.
And we're not the only ones here. I think there's like other people like paying attention.
No,
and stuff.
you guys don't count.
Yeah, I'm here for you guys though.
Yeah. If anyone didn't want spoilers, they could.
Can you try that link just one more time?
Yeah,
Andreas,
I tried it. It just broke, but I'll try it again.
It's a free.
It worked. There we go. There's Howard the Duck.
So yeah, this was an AI model that I trained on Howard the Duck, and if you scroll over a couple times, there's even a Freemason Howard the Duck in there.
Let me go
the little left and right. Yeah.
Dude, I want the like Play Duck magazine, like the actual Play Duck magazine as like a novelty item.
I tried making those. It kind of worked a little bit, but it wasn't good enough to post the results.
Oh, damn.
The world's such a great place now because of things like this. Thank you, Thomas. That's a good.
You're welcome. I saw a gap, man. I was like, they're making all these anime and hentai chicks. Why is there no Howard the Duck out there?
You know what I found out about ducks is that I've been watching the Warrior series.
Are you gonna say ballistic penis? Because that's the best part about ducks.
No, but the Warrior series on HBO. That's Bruce Lee's story written into big screen. But it's about Chinatown. In Chinatown, the count of white people, they all call them ducks. You're gonna
That's
talk to
fair.
the ducks at the police station. You're gonna trade the drugs with the ducks. So
I've heard a lot of people say when they first hear English, like what it sounds like to them is like ducks. They're like, it sounds like just ducks talking.
It must be Cantonese. I don't know how it translates to that.
We're a bunch of squawkers. We are.
Yeah, I think it's just the squawking we have. How about this guy called the police on these squatters that took over his home, so he got arrested because the squatters.
Oh, that kind of go there.
Like,
There's a million of these. So yeah, this is
what do we do?
it's just it's just everything seems to be the same thing occurring again and again. They're like 16-year-old that just got arrested in Yorkshire for saying that the cop looked like her lesbian nana. And they arrested her as a hate crime, and she's like autistic, and she's like, the mom's like, she's autistic, and she's like, and the cop is just like, I don't care. And they issue a statement afterwards after they released the child, and the Yorkshire police are just like, treating it just like just making it all about like a mental issue with the autism. And I'm like, what if she wasn't autistic? Well, you can just arrest somebody for saying they look like a lesbian. Like, what was wrong with being a lesbian exactly? Like, where's the pride, man? I'm sorry.
Yeah, usually being a lesbian is cool with most people. The thing that I saw was the facial tracking software that was arresting people that were the wrong people. Arrested a 7-month pregnant woman who had never been to the state that they're demanding she was this other person who'd been like in a violent crime. And, you could look at her, but like, you'd think this is like they used to talk about this in Gattaca. They're like, nobody even looks at photos anymore. They just look at DNA. And I was like, that's never going to happen. And then they're literally doing it. They're literally not looking at the photos. Like, no, the DNA evidence shows the 7-month pregnant lady from Connecticut clearly murdered these 6 PCP addicts. Yeah, I don't know, or whatever it is. Like, it's every time it's all, or it's the worst is when it's like a police officer that's been hurt. Because then they're going and they're like, okay, well, how are we going to find the person? So they're using genetics, but the genetic information is not as accurate as people think it is. And so they're looking for genes. And then they're like, okay, well, here's somebody who did 23andMe. It looks like maybe one of their cousins might be the person. So they're just scouring all of your information, trying to figure out if they can find a link to something on really like fuzzy grounds.
Well, remember that's what the original conception of AI was all about. I've gone off enough about that before, but like it's all about DNA, that the AI of the future uses our DNA and it goes through a pecking order of like who was the worst to the environment. So it's like politicians and CEOs, and the artificial intelligence uses their internet history to make custom hells for those people. That's basically like a day, but it feels like whatever, eternity in this, but it's all, in reference to what they put out on the internet, and like that they would be able to use their DNA in that way. I find
very Minority Report-ish too.
Yeah,
sounded more like
Yeah.
I don't.
Well, it's supposed to be the Book
same
of Revelation. It's a take on the Book of Revelation from the trajectory of like if we continued at our current, where we've been heading,
Sure.
what the ultimate expression that would be, which is also, by the way, what THX 1138 is. That's
the whole future of the mark of the beast, quote unquote. It's all about biometrics, really. Anyway, they're trying to identify who you are. You got to prove who you are.
Right. Although that this is like later. This is like long after the Mark of the Beast thing, Book of Revelations, because this Book of Revelations is really divided into 3 parts, and they deal with different time frames. So this is like way future. Scrooge.
This is a little bit tangential, but we're talking like Minority Report and future and body modification and stuff. Have any of you guys seen Crimes of the Future? I saw it recently. And it was like the weird. It was not what I was expecting going in. I don't even think it could be really like spoiled or anything. But basically, in the future, people have lost the ability to feel pain. So now pain actually becomes like a pleasure because it just gives you some kind of feeling. And the main character, he finds this way to start growing these weird organs in his body. And there's this whole underground market of people that tattoo organs. So they'll go inside your body and tattoo the organ, but it's performance art. So people go to like attend this medical procedure as if they're going to a ballet, and they're all like clapping and everyone's exhausted at the end of it. But it's so wild because this is this weird future where like you're not allowed to own the organs inside your body anymore, and people have to go underground for weird medical procedures as performance.
Dude, that sounds Scandinavian as an F. I'm gonna have
That's
to watch
Cronenberg.
that.
Well,
Crazy.
it's Cronenberg. Yeah, Cronenberg is
Cronenberg
So
is
it's Canadian as heck.
Yeah, it's even better. Although, you know,
The
what is
Fly.
Canada anyway? And why? What about the dolphins? So you guys saw this. I can tell you the dolphin word for human, but it is a racial slur. Biologists have translated dolphin language as filled with slurs for humans. Efforts to improve the language skills of highly intelligent and sociable dolphins go back decades. They've been finding a lot of weird stuff going on. We've been talking about this for a while, saying it was going to happen. It's happening now. When did the sperm whales start adopting disfigured dolphins? I mean, this is a whole other thing. They're like, they're using them. This is not just some cute, like, oh, we're going to adopt it. They're like using one that's broken. They're like, ha, you can't get away from us. We're going to manipulate you. And
the whale acts as a parasite.
Have you guys seen the footage of dolphins? Teenage dolphins, particularly, love to poke the puffer fish. Have you seen
Poke
those?
Oh,
the
yeah,
puffer
sure.
fish? Is that the game?
Sure,
Yeah,
sure.
it's like
Yeah,
it's like
it's
a
really-
joint. They roll up a joint.
It's adorable, really.
Yeah, they're totally getting the hit. They're like, "Whoa, this is good stuff."
So what I found
There's all the
funny was
poison
like
coming out.
trying to find all the evidence of this is like harder than you think. Everyone was talking about it. Like, we're gonna get this done. And then you're like, where'd the articles go? And so you have to find them. So Gavagai AB, which is this Swedish company, they're making all sorts of different AIs for all sorts of different reasons, unstructured text. But they were like, yeah, we're gonna figure out dolphin a few years ago, and apparently they did. But now you can't, they're not putting out their white papers or anything like that on it. They're just actually like direct to market, working with whaling fleets or with the governments that are trying to redirect whales and everything. So this is crazy.
Dude, this is like NASA shit. It's like there's a chain of command. There's totally like levels of like need to know basis stuff. Like with dolphins might tell us fucking everything. We might just like, how long would it take if that were to actually happen?
Dude,
if
dolphins
they develop
gossip,
the ability and technology. Yeah, dude, I'm just saying, like, I think it's more, the slurs might just be a way for us to just be like, oh, keep it on a certain level, oh, well, that makes sense. But they might be telling us the secrets of the universe, and we're not getting it,
Well, speaking of the secret of the universe, we will go back to Hitchhikers and the Galaxy, right? The dolphins, they go farewell and thanks for the fish, right? So the fish. Speaking of the fish, do you know what they're actually talking about? That translation. In the book they talk about they don't understand the aliens, right? So they have to put this thing into the ear.
Sure.
This little creature. Do you know what it's called?
Babelfish.
I can't remember.
Babelfish. Yeah,
Babelfish.
Babelfish. That's right. Yeah.
Babylon.
So I thought this all comes down to this little.
Totally.
Well, that's C-3PO. C-3PO is the male equivalent of the robot in Metropolis. And the whole idea is that the robot in the Metropolis represents the Scarlet Woman. She's the replicant of the Shakina, or the replicant of the High Priestess, but this is C-3PO's girlfriend, so to speak. What is C-3PO but a protocol droid? He translates. He's fluent in over how many forms of communication? I forget.
6
But
million.
the whole idea is that, like, right, because in Metropolis, the whole thing collapses of Babel. And so the idea with C-3PO is he's playing her same part, but he's like, well, what happens when the tower collapses? No one can understand each other's speech in the Bible. And so C-3PO is basically a fail-safe for should that happen. Like, because he can still communicate using this robot. And so, like, that's how he relates to her. I'm pretty fucking sure that's like intentional.
So what's the name? What is the name of the female robot in Metropolis? What's her name?
Hell.
Well, yeah.
Well, Maria, but Hell, right?
Maria, but yeah, exactly. Because it's his wife. Because it's his dead wife was Hell.
Yeah.
So I just thought that she's symbolizing the goddess of Babylon. Babylon.
Here's Hell, which is the dead wife. So there's a lot of fun stuff in Metropolis. So first off, you've got Frieders and you've got Rotvang, the doctor, and they're together because they both loved the Scarlet Woman, Hell. And Hell, it's like Hellenism, and the Germans were interested in how the barbarians were told that they had, to stop believing in their older religions, but also in Hellenism, and hell became this evil place instead of being closer to the sun and God and everything, when you wanted to be like the Hellenistic Empire and everything. So they're looking at both sides of the Gnostic. Anyway, she's dead. the son, Friederson, Friederson, he's
Yeah.
got his girlfriend
Friederson.
Maria, who gets kidnapped by Rotvang. But here's the kicker: I'm convinced it's not Frieder's son. Friederson's not Frieder's son. He's Rotvang's son. They both love hell. And
Seriously, I've never heard that. That's
no,
crazy.
that's my own.
But then at the end, when he's
like
like brought to his knees and he's like crying because his son's up on the roof or whatever, and he's freaking out because he thinks he's gonna die or whatever. I mean, he seems to really care about him, Andreas. I don't know. That's a far out theory.
He definitely cares about him. There's no reason he doesn't. I mean, but he's got.
Well, I mean, the idea, just is that that's communicated in the movie is that there's this variable. So when you're relating to the order of society and like the caste system, that what is the problem? Like it's almost like there wouldn't be a problem in Metropolis, except that the elite son he finds out is down there with the people, and he's like worried about his son.
I feel like his hair says that it's his son. Like look at his hair. It's just more like Rotvang. I don't know, but there's something to it. Like, and they definitely are. They both care about him, which is the thing that's also kind of interesting. Like they both want, but he wants to bring back, and he's willing to make sacrifices. And Rotvang sacrificed his arm already. He's got a metal or fake hand, which is very like Full Metal Alchemist. He's already done one ritual and he's willing to do more.
The one-armed man.
The virgin this time.
But by the way, like if you want to if it's worth it to you to know what Lady Gaga's whole thing is Metropolis. So she's named after Radio Gaga by Queen, which she says was her producer's idea. I don't know. It doesn't matter either way, because the point still stands, is that what she represents is the replicant that is portrayed in Metropolis. So she's like doing like the Marshall Mathers Eminem thing too, where she's like, it's not really me. You're relating to the image and the caricature. And so that's the symbolism there. But if you take actually the fame monster, which is like the thing with Babel, like what was their problem? They wanted to make a name for themselves. So it's all about fame. And so like the fame monster, if you started at the beginning of Metropolis, when the pyramid turns black, like in the opening scene, that's like, it's pretty over the top. Like there's a point where like, there's like a sample where she just says, kill him really quick. And there's like it's like right on the point when the fake Maria is like, says about the guy, what's his name? You know the names better than I do, Andreas. I can't remember.
Rotvang, Friederson, Maria. I'm sorry,
yeah,
I was looking at all this Clockwork Metropolis.
Friederson, that she's just says kill him in the subtitle at the exact same moment. So it's like that kind of shit happened. Like telephone, he picks up the telephone to talk to the worker down below, and like it's like answers the phone at the same point in the intro of the song when it's like, and then hangs up the phone when the phone hangs up. It's crazy.
Yeah. This might be the greatest thing since Metropolis itself, Thomas. I'm super impressed.
I appreciate that. Thank you. These were taken from actual frames of either movie and then blending it with, some AI prompts from the other one.
That's amazing.
Wait, did you use a Clockwork Orange? Oh yeah.
This could work. I would watch this movie. Oh my god, this is like probably as good as Metropolis right here. This movie. Brutal. Okay, so but the Queen.
Let's drop the Clockwork thing in there. Because I had to sync with that.
I'm sorry. I have to explain that really quick because I can't. Yeah. So the thing with Queen, why is that significant? It's because Queen's video for Radio Gaga is them inserted in the film Metropolis.
Right.
So
right.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go on.
Radio Gaga.
It's so fun explaining syncs to other people. Don't you think?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially when the reaction is just like, okay. Yeah. So, I just tweeted this, or I just saw this. It's the guy that he's just won the primary in Argentina.
Oh, I was going to bring this up. I'm so glad that thank you.
And I just saw that picture and I immediately thought of Alex from A Clockwork Orange, and
but then the Kubrick stare.
Oh yeah, and the blue eyes, and okay, Argentina. We know the history of Argentina and who settled there and stuff. It's pretty clear his history of Argentina. Yeah. So, but the really good thing is because Bitcoin is the Clockwork Orange, and that guy is making a stink because he's pro Bitcoin, just like the guy in El Salvador. And Bitcoin is the orange coin, right? And it's a clock. It is a clock. It's a different form of time measuring, as well as money and whatever else it is. But here he is backed up by the Clockwork Orange, and
do you know
weird.
what he wants to do, Javier Milei?
He's basically like an AMCAP.
He wants to abolish the state of Argentina. He wants to be elected and abolish the state. He's like, the state has been nothing but communist and socialist and bureaucratic nightmares, at least. And if we just got rid of the whole thing, we go back to, an autocratic fascist.
The central bank getting rid of that first would be the.
He wants to get all of it.
Do you know what exchange rate is right now over there? It's like 20,000.
It's collapsing.
20,000 pesos to a
if
dollar.
you get rid of the state has the rights to control a bank, right?
They're destroying the currency.
What is a state? A state is
all over the world.
The state is a legitimate source of violence. So if you remove the legitimate source of violence, this is better than defund the police. This is the legitimate removal of the authority of violence a state has over individuals who don't pay their taxes or submit to their social contracts. I mean, this is an amazing idea, really. I mean, come on.
He's wild, and he's got a great haircut, and I would vote for him if I lived there. But I like the sync.
Well, what's crazy is he's doing.
There's
really
a deep
well.
sync with Bitcoin and the color orange, and
he's got like 30,
he's giving me Kurt Russell vibes.
He's got like 30%. He's doing really well, and so
he's the son of a bus driver.
He's gonna make it. Dude, bus drivers in Argentina are based. Give them beer if you're ever in Argentina. Bring beer for your bus driver. It's a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
And even just the bus caddy guys. How about like fake pandas? Everyone
fake
jokes.
Bears.
Everyone jokes about fake bears.
There's a subliminal bears.
Benjamin's crazy, but then you find out like none of the bears. Like they're all these bears. What's going on here? It's like humans.
Berenstein bears.
Tons of zoos are being caught.
Sun bears. It's just a sun bear. There's 8 forms of bears in the world. Eight. There's only 8. I don't know if you knew that, which is an interesting sync too.
Some bears? No. There's plenty of them in Taiwan. I mean, in Taiwan and Malaysia. But I mean, it's not like really.
They're just weird looking.
Yeah, they did have like some really saggy skin, so that's why people thought they were mistaken as humans, because when they stand up, it looks like some guy with
whenever a bear is standing on its hind legs is really weird and creepy, and especially these because they're shaped so strangely. But it is interesting how bears keep coming up in society on this like subliminal level, such as the Mandela effect and the Berenstein bears, which is
the cover of The Shining is the best one ever.
Yeah, that's the big one. Or the poster, the Saul Bass poster.
Well, if we want to get
there's a bear. There's that bear, but the yellow poster.
Yeah. Do shining yellow poster. Shining poster.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
there it is, the yellow one right down there. See that? Yeah.
So this is supposedly a face of a scared child, but it's actually a face of a little teddy bear.
It took me a while to see it the first time, and then once I saw it, I couldn't unsee it, and I still can't.
Yeah, it's weird. So look at the nostrils as the eyes of the bear, and the eyes of the boy are like the ears, and then the nose it's like the open mouth is the bear's nose, and then there's like a crook in his chin, and that's the bear's mouth, and so. Nobody really admits this, but it's there, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of like a magic
proved out
eye.
by the stuff in the movie too.
If you look at The Shining, there's a lot of
exactly.
native. The whole thing is about the Native American burial ground, right? So
burial.
Yeah. Because if you really look up the story of what they believe in about bears, the reincarnation of humans.
Interesting.
And so I don't know. I really think it has something to do with that.
It could, yeah. I mean, absolutely.
Bears and burial. All right, I'll take it.
Well, they're like, I don't know.
I'm trying to see the
One of
bear.
my
I'm
favorite-
crossing my eyes and squinting and like.
I'm gonna find the GIF on my account, and then maybe you can see it in motion because Sean animated it for assistance. So give me a second.
They're always lying. Donkeys as zebras, mastiffs as mountain lion, African lions, plastic penguins as actual penguins. That's messed up. I can't believe they did that. The Rottweiler is a wolf. Sticky marks. West Yorkshire, Babylon, city of Leeds, too close to my little hovel. Baba Yaga of likely more. KLF said it's the V grim up north. Yes, very grim indeed. I
sent that in there. Sorry.
Well, this also reminds me, there's I don't know if you guys remember, there's a book called
There it is, yeah.
Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. You guys ever heard about this book series? It was like a horror
of course
for kids.
And Guillermo del Toro did the movie version of it, right?
Correct. And there was one in particular story that didn't get picked up by the Guillermo del Toro, but it was called Sam's New Pet. and it was basically about these people that go to Mexico and get sold a sewer rat as like a chihuahua or something.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's
one,
it right there. Yeah.
What in the living hell?
That's
What-
what.
Yeah,
Dude,
that's the
you
most
never-
terrifying
you
picture.
have to
Westerners
look
thought
this
chihuahuas were like when they are dead rats. Either way, like they're just afraid.
that
I
looks
used to
a
like to
human-
read this book by like a small light in my room at night. By my like, it creeped me out, and I liked it. I liked the feeling of being so creeped out. I don't know.
This looks
Yeah,
like human
great drawings.
centipede.
Did you see the animation there, Thomas? Just to come full circle on that.
Oh yeah. Let me make sure.
I put it in the private chat just to help people see it.
Right here, yeah.
I'm trying,
It's like
man.
an evil Teddy Ruxpin, you know.
I don't see. I see the nostrils like flicker. I know.
See-
it's supposed
see-
to be,
see
You
how
see
the
mole
eyes
rats? You know the
close?
guy in mole rats when he's
See
trying to
the
get
eyes
the fucking
close
magic
there?
guy?
I
Yeah.
think
Started the GIF.
It looks
terrifying one way
Is
or
there
another,
a pipe?
you
Is this a pipe in his mouth? Like,
Whatever I see is scary.
it's not a
I don't like
sailboat.
it.
It's a schooner. You idiot.
There's definitely some Clockwork Orange stuff going on here with Malay. But okay, how about the KTH World Institute of Technology? That was something Sticky Mark just brought up. Bottlenose dolphin. They now, yeah, it's just crazy because like all this is gonna start coming out right now, slowly, but they're not telling everybody what all the sounds mean yet. They're just saying that I mean, they're like, we're gonna do it, and now it's like done, but that doesn't mean that you get to know what it is. And that's kind of weird because for a long time, at least they'd be like, yeah, we've got a corporation that's gonna make some money off of it. They're not trying to warn you about how they're gonna make money off of talking to dolphins. You know, that's kind of what it looks like. So the communication seems like a much more valuable thing because it's a further way to isolate us and for them to have alliances or control.
I think they might just be filming a dolphin reality show, and they're just trying to get the jump on it.
Yeah, that's fair. I can't wait to see
They've all
that.
been quarantined, media quarantine.
Well, I
the
mean, we
things
realize
the
that
things
a
that come
lot
out of their mouth.
a lot of the problem is we don't speak the same way as animals. So like this natural language processing that we try to use, it's not the same. So we're trying to understand how to think their way. It's going to require us to think new ways, not changing the way they think, changing ourselves, right?
If you look at it, it's funny that you mentioned a reality show of dolphins. The dolphins would be like, "Hey, we're swimming in the ocean, but wait, who's pooping over there? You're pooping in my water." I don't know. I just think that it'll be. We don't really want to hear what they have to say. That's what I'm trying to say.
Oh, dolphinately.
Which one of you shared the new AI app that lets you talk to God? Did you see this one? AI Jesus. It lets you communicate with
That's
holy
so funny.
characters. Do you think this is good? Is this better than a Ouija board, or is this less, or what? Is this
Well,
as much?
I'm
Pretty
already
much the
using
same thing.
I'm already using there's a ghost talker. I'm basically getting signals from the ghost, and I stopped using it because it freaked me out. So this one, I don't know what this
And
is
your
gonna
wife
do.
told you to stop too. She's like, "I gotta sleep. You cannot just
Yeah.
have ghosts in the middle of the night waking us up." That's fair.
My wife was really spooked by it. I mean,
like, really?
is that really
Really,
accurate?
Eddie? Try to be open-minded, but the ghosts, yeah, get them out.
Yeah. Keep out of the house. Yeah.
The ghosts in the machine, at least. The ghosts
They
that
need
are
to-
already in the house that you can do nothing about. Fuck it, right?
They're in the microwave, but they should blend the Jesus AI with Replica, which was like the lonely, horny, dude one, or like people that have given up on all human relationships and they just turn to AI.
Dude, you know that was the thing that happened with, there was that website for people having affairs. What was that called? It was the name of a woman. Was it something Madison? I can't remember, but there's all these like, so all these names were released. Like somebody hacked it and they just released all these names. And there was like a bunch of people in like the Bible Belt, like a shocking number of people men who killed themselves over their names getting released. But it turned out that it was like 90% bots that they were talking to. So they were like having like they're basically just getting aroused by talking to AI, and then they like killed themselves over it, not even knowing. Like they died thinking that they had talked to a person. Like it's just crazy. Yeah.
That's dark.
I know, right?
A new fetish is people offing themselves.
Make a
after
better
being
movie than
shot
that.
by a fake AI.
And I just posted something about the assist suicide rate in U.S. has gone up 63%. I'm like, really? Is that a real number? I'm like,
Yeah. Dude, I've been
That way
waiting
people are
for
paying-
it, dude.
They
I'm
wouldn't
like,
lie about
I'm
something.
sorry.
It's more like bragging.
I'm on the waiting list. Damn it.
Dude, I gotta say, man, I've been really waiting for that because I'm like, I lost 10 friends in the last 3 years to suicide, and like for real, like it's crazy, and like including my coworker shot himself, and not that long ago, like within the last year, and like I'm just over here like I'm sorry, like I don't know anybody who's died of COVID personally that I know of. I might know someone, not realize that they passed, but like that's 10 people. Like I've been keeping track. Like it's just it. I mean, acquaintances, some of them closer than others, but I'm just like that number's got to be up there, man. The alcohol sales went up 400%. Just means 4 times, but you know what I mean? Like shit's crazy.
Trust the
All right,
plan.
I got a controversial question on this, and hopefully we're not gonna like tie it up on self-harm at the end of this episode. But
Right.
we're always talking about the importance of dates, right? And how they synchronize and stuff. And it's been shown that there's certain families that will induce labor because they want the child to be born at some kind of an astrologically favorable time, yada yada.
Sure. Yeah.
Why does that, or maybe it does, but it seems that same rule doesn't apply to the end of life, where like you're not supposed to plan out astrologically the day you die. And in fact, almost every religion, even the weird woo-woo wonky ones outside of maybe Heaven's Gate and stuff, but they all have like rules against not taking that into your own hands. And it's a fascinating subject to me. Like, why are
what about the anthropological king kill ritual? Like that was done in a whole ritualistic way.
Well,
yeah.
okay, that's very true. Yeah, because
and so
this is probably.
But you make a really valid point. I think that it goes on, and it's hard to tell where the line exists between the intentionality of it versus the what we would call happenstance. And you know what's crazy is if you look at the royals, like birthdays, man, you got like how many like eclipses and Jesus Christ.
That's the thing they did. They were like, you know what? I think it'd be really good to sacrifice you on Thursday. You know, that was exactly how that worked, I think.
Sacrifices night
for Venus. Is that Venus?
Yeah,
what
we're
is
gonna need
Thursday?
you to come in on Sunday. That would be the worst. That's the first one. You got to come in Sunday and you get killed.
Train your AI on this.
I would like to change my appointment.
There's a cartoon in here. That's heavy metal.
Who's the artist? This kind of looks like a little bit like
Rowena.
Looks like Rowena. This is a prime virgin. Where did she came
from? It's a version of a virgin.
It's a virgin of a virgin. Our galaxy is home to trillions of worlds gone rogue. Astronomers have found free floating planets far outnumber those bound to a host star. I'm interested in this because a lot of the time we'll say, okay, everything we hear from NASA is fake, and therefore we should ignore it. But then to me, that's kind of like a cop out because they're lying about something, and the more you ignore it, you're like, well, you know what? It's all fake and can't hurt me. La 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 la. I feel like that's kind of a cop out. You know,
totally.
Isn't there probably demons, at least, if you don't believe in aliens.
Just because somebody's fucking lying all the time doesn't mean that there's not something in there.
Star Wars, you know,
it's just a matter of what they're willing to share with us openly, you know, because they'll disclose. I mean, come on, a lot of this stuff is in plain sight. Like if you watch, like, I mean, I'm sure Eddie's all over this, but like when they dropped that lander thing on Mars and like its tire tracks were made to, what did they spell out? It was something Jack Parsons related. There was like a whole like Parsons thing, like it was in the parachute too, the way that it was all encoded into that. They like put in JPL and what was the other cruiser, lander or whatever it was called. Do they show it on here? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't know.
I swear to God, they did a whole thing where they impressed was it Jack Parsons' name or was it Babylon working stuff like into it was encoded into the parachute and in the tire tracks. You didn't follow? There was like a whole rabbit hole around that when it happened.
The parachute has something to do with the Mayan what's that, the black sun. I mean the black hole symbol of the Mayans.
That's not it. I'm surprised it's not coming up. Is this like is this something that's now censored or something? Because there's like
I've not seen it.
Did I post anything about it? I can look it up. I don't know if I posted it.
I think they ended up. I thought they ended up sharing it. I thought
Mars lander, JPL, tire, tracks.
Where is the fucking? It should come up. We've had Jack Parsons. I don't know what the fuck. Yeah, I don't know. Internet sucks sometimes. Oh, it's DuckDuckGo. Try Google.
Okay. Google.
I just want to remind you that NASA already made these bricks for construction on Mars with human blood mixed into it.
Wait, what?
That looks like some rover track in Morse code.
What it wasn't.
Rover leaves tracks in Morse code according to JPL NASA. A Morse code pattern imprinted in the tracks of marks of NASA's Curiosity will help the rover drive more accurately.
Yeah, it wasn't just the tracks too. It's in the thing itself. Like they had the way they had like geometrical like OTO shit encoded into the way that the machine actually looks up close.
Wow.
There's like a whole thing there. I
It's
swear
like
to
a
God.
Roger
If
Hoagland
anybody
sort of
listening to this wants to look it up and like post it in the comments if you find it, I swear to God, there's a whole crazy thing around that one.
OTO, Thelema.
It's interesting they still call it JPL, right? Like no one has renamed it for any reason, even though it seems that at the time that Jax Parsons was alive, he didn't get as much credit as after he died.
Yeah, it's true. And I'm going to say again
sacrificed.
Yeah, and so you have one of the world's top physicists, right, rocket scientist, in Pasadena, California. And how far away is freaking Berkeley, where Oppenheimer was at for such a long period of time? Like I think I've said that, but I'm surprised that you can't find anything on that. But I guess people meet up. It's not necessarily recorded.
And in the meantime, it's saying that there's another launch from SpaceX in less than a day to launch a batch of Starlink satellites. So there's always another rocket launch seems to be around the corner. I don't know. And yeah, all the symbolism. Here we go. Look at that pattern work right there. That kind of looks like it. Like the writing treads.
I don't remember if it was someone on this show, but it was a great question of like, why did they name it Apollo and send it to the moon?
Right.
Like, is there some kind of symbolism in there with like sun and moon and inversions?
Well, you're taking a rocket and you're impregnating the, luminary. So you do the feminine to the masculine to the feminine, probably. Could be wrong.
It's the moon child. You do the Batman working, and the product is the moon child. So,
who's the moon child?
The moon child is
Hillary Clinton.
Oh yeah.
Oh God.
No, she's like born 9 months around there, but
well, Trump is the one that most people like to say.
Yeah, but the birthday's off. It's like it's closer to the ritual.
No, Trump is closer to the ritual than Hillary.
Hillary Clinton's birth is 47.
47.
She's born in 47, bro. Some Roswell stuff right there. She's like 10 months after the thing was the real. Yeah, I don't know.
That might be maybe.
I'm not saying I believe it.
I don't believe either. A moonchild, but yeah.
She's not a very good moonchild if she is, but it kind of fits with the
Jack
never-ending
Parsons wasn't a
story.
great magician.
Ouch.
Well, it is if she gets the beast into power, then she's really playing the role of Scarlet Woman. You know that the Scarlet Woman in Greek is actually, as it appears in the New Testament, it's gematria. In Greek, gematria is 667. So it's like she rides atop the beast 666, and she happens to have the value of 667. Oh, I thought it was a good one. It's like
they passed the Patriot Act on her birthday too.
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, 2001.
Man. Well, also, Thomas has got his Thrill Oxide documentary, and it's doing all right. It's got over 1,000 views. It's 1.3 now. Have you all been checking this out? Because it's friggin' amazing.
Oh, look at that thing! You just clicked right on the Metropolis frame too.
Yeah. It was just a bit ago.
And if you can't handle the sensors and all the beeping on this one, you can go and see it on Rockfin.
Yeah, you have
and
the link
Rumble
here
for free.
Do you have the link here somewhere for Rockfin?
It's in. I think it's in the comments. I should add it to the description.
Yeah, pin it to the top here as a comment also, or whatever, so we can find it quickly. But pretty interesting stuff, and a lot of people are arguing about adrenaline and like all this stuff is actually kind of pertinent right now. People are taking injections of stem cells and taking all sorts of synthetics. Do you think this is going to become more common, or is it pretty obvious that they're hiding it and they don't want people to know about this? What has your experience been from putting this out there?
Definitely that. I definitely feel that they've got some kind of a secret, and the fact that it can be derived from animals instead of plants is a huge deal. And there's a lot of weird connotations and morality questions that go with this, but we have no problems extracting chemicals and using them from like cows. But when it happens that we find some kind of a chemical in a human that no other animal can extract, and we find that it's got some kind of a special use to it, then you get into dicey territory, right? Because you can't just shot it away with like, well, I eat a burger, so I don't feel that bad about it. The second it starts coming from people, it changes the conversation a little bit.
I know, right? It's like people that eat pussy and call themselves vegan. It's like, what?
Why do they call them apartments?
I'm sorry, that's an animal product. Get real.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Never apologize. No, I mean, the other thing is like, why aren't they extracting stuff from plants and from other animals? I mean, because couldn't you just get a graphonia seed, acetylate tryptophan, and get yourself, or why not? Why aren't you able to create some of this stuff from other sources, synthesize it? Aren't they able to?
I don't know. I think they want to cure unadulterated fetus tissues.
Emphasis on unadulterated. Yeah.
But it's also an economics thing, because when this first came up, when we were talking about this, you said something, Andreas, and I was like, well, a lot of it comes from bovine still. And you were like, well, it's probably manufactured in labs. And I did a really deep dive on that. And so the truth is that, yes, it's 100% possible to completely synthesize all the precursors and everything, all the way up to adrenaline and epinephrine. But it is way freaking cheaper to just harvest the adrenal glands of cows that are already going to go on, for various reasons, are getting chopped up. So a lot of adrenaline and epinephrine still comes from cows, depending on, and this is the other weird part, is that adrenaline is the main product, and then thrill oxide is the derivative of that, but none of the controversy that applies to thrill oxide applies to adrenaline, even though like they share that same thing, that they're sourced from animals.
But one would think then, if you genetically modify, gene edited pigs and cows, that it'll be more convenient to produce adrenaline in those animals that would be compatible. So they're close. And then they could be like, oh, look what you can do here. You get like the super burger. The super burger makes you feel really good.
I've been following this CRISPR engineer. He's been transforming ever since he started injecting himself. He's like a full-on woman now with breasts growing out. And
wait, which one is?
Oh man,
you talking about that billionaire guy who's trying to be 18 forever or something? Is that who you're talking about?
Yeah, well, let me look up his name. But he's pretty famous by now. But he did a lot of experiments on himself. CRISPR.
I wouldn't mind being 18 again, like in that George Burns movie. That's pretty good.
This came up recently. Do you guys remember the billionaire dude who was taking his son's blood, and he now says he's going to stop doing it? The Uber CEO or founder. He said there was no benefits detected. So he's like, as soon as there was a bunch of paperwork published about the fact that he's doing it and a bunch of PR came on it, he's like, no, don't worry. That was just the thing we just tried for a little while, but we're good now. It didn't work out. So
that's a good PR team. That's a good. They had to say something, so that's a good move.
Dude, Brian Johnson, that's like a Starship Troopers, Star Trek looking character right there. I gotta say, even that outfit. What is this? Like body?
Weren't all those characters like 90210-ish? What are you talking about?
Oh yeah, the name of the CRISPR engineer is his name is Joe Zayner, Zayner. But I've been following him for maybe 5-6 years, and now it's like a full blown woman, Joe. She's changed her name legally to Josie. So, but
does she have like a bunch of pussycats?
Person. It was this. I don't mean a dead face or whatever, but
he just nonstop. That's how he started.
Well, I guess transhumanism is the point. Like, you're probably stoked to show off transhumanism if you're that transhuman.
I mean, a very, very brilliant guy. I mean, he can explain everything about genetic.
He's probably going to live longer. That's what I'm noticing is the people like the Wachowski siblings. They're probably going to live longer because they're going to have less chances for certain kinds of cancer. They're going to have a more consistent range of hormone. It's just going to people are going to be living for 120 to 200 years if they become trans. That's going to be the first step.
Beyond the obvious pharmaceutical incentive here, I just wonder about especially like you mentioned the Wachowskis, what kind of VR do those folks have? Because You know, when you think about like the chain of like what people have available with technology and what you've experienced, like I've never put on like the you know more the higher quality VR goggles besides like Oculus, you know, but like Oculus is like the people's version of it. Like what, because VR is very much like first person. Like I could understand like if you're just like, well, if you're having VR where you're experiencing another gender to like another crazy level, I could see that being like you're like stepping into it. You're like, this is actually me. I really, you know, like because it's beyond just like what you can imagine now. It's what you can literally see and experience, almost like what was that Ralph Fiennes 2000
Strange Days.
Strange Days
I was
squid
gonna mention
thing, you
that.
know? Yeah, totally.
Well-
It's like I'm just saying, like, what do they have available to them, and what is like I have no point of reference for what that would be like. You know what I mean?
Which Fiends is real quick. His in that movie Strange Days, his license plate is that movie's really obvious, really by the way. But like the license plate is 237. It's just like right there in your face
Oh, really?
Yeah.
for the VR thing. But there's another movie with Bruce Willis called fuck, what's it called? I don't know. I can't remember. Let me look it up. Go ahead, Eddie.
David, you seen Ray Kurzweil in his video with what's his alter ego that what's the name? Basically he's using VR and he assumed a female identity. I think we played it on the show before, but it's hilarious. He's like he's already set. He's like, this is the person I want to be when I can completely transfer my consciousness to the mainframe.
Interesting. You talking about Lawnmower Man or something? What?
Hold on,
I can't remember. What...
But yeah, it's all on video. He was on C-SPAN or something like that.
Oh, it's like that. Oh, okay.
The movie's called called Surrogates with Bruce Willis, where there's like androids that are like you can pilot, and they're indistinguishable from humans. So everybody's just staying at home piloting their surrogate androids out. So you're talking to a woman, but it's
like
actually a fat guy at home.
It'd be like Airbnb or Uber. Like people be renting out their bodies. It'd be like way cheaper to just
Well,
jump
they're already
into
doing that.
somebody. Yeah, you know that'll be pretty soon. People will be like, this is so much easier than getting a job. Is I just let someone use my body for a week or 2 days.
That's what OnlyFans is basically.
But like just like being John Malkovich though.
I know. That's where we're going. Sure.
That's funny that you said. That's funny that you say OnlyFans because somebody in the AI room brought up the question. Like, has anybody tried to put an AI character in any male AI user put
create AI generated porn, and this working.
Oh, that's big. There's actually someone that posted in one of the Stable Diffusion subs recently was like, I just made my first million, and all they did was generated like 30 fake people, fake personas, fake voices, everything, and post it. You get simps that'll be like, send me your panties, and they'll send $200. And we got to go to Target, send some panties.
Change my career right now.
Hey, I have a question. Is it more evolved because like humans are one of the only species? There's another kind of bird that's kind of like I forget what it's like related to the peacock or something maybe that actually will get off on an image. But like human beings can get off on an image. Like you could look at a magazine and get off on it. Other animals don't do that. Is that more evolved or less evolved? I'm wondering.
I don't know, but have you seen the movie Human Nature? Speaking of John Malkovich, that's written by Charlie Kaufman. Where the best scene in the movie where they plop him down, come out of the jungle in front of him, he's just launches toward the screen completely out of his mind. But so
Stephens, right? When I first saw that movie, I remember thinking,
movie's great.
I remember thinking that like, okay, the hairy mother has to do with like the Manson women, right? Because the women had like there was a couple of them at least that had fur, like their whole body was covered in hair. And that was a big thing. So I was like, okay, this has to do with the Manson rejection of traditional values. But then I think about now the Mother Mary thing because he's this primal man, and it's kind of like he's the Christ, he's the Antichrist or something in Human Nature. Pretty great movie. I think it's pretty good.
Have you guys ever heard of?
I dropped the video link.
Oh, okay.
We're fighting for links. Guys ever heard of a concept called supernormal stimuli? Because when David was asking about like, are birds more or less evolved? So a supernormal stimuli is also associated with porn very often, but the same thing they've proven can happen to birds, where if they take a bird that's trying to sit on their eggs and they like paint like a bluer egg with more spots on it that is like comically larger than that the bird can possibly use to sit on it, the birds will abandon their actual eggs and sit on this bigger, bluer, prettier egg. And it's just the same concept. It's like everyone's hardwired to have this stupid cheat code built in that if you show someone that, the larger than life version, they'll gravitate towards it. And it doesn't matter what part of the species you're in. They do it with all kinds of different animals.
Big blue legs, huh?
This is a good video, Eddie, you're sending, because it's talking about how transgenderism will just dissipate into the destruction of the family nucleus and of values, right? Because we'll just have transhumanism instead.
This video is like, what, almost 20 years ago, and
I created a female alter ego for myself. Yeah.
Her name is Ramona. Remember that name.
That's a good name.
But you see her on OnlyFans.
Ramona.
But you can fast forward to, he's going to demonstrate how he becomes that character. You can't get audio?
You can be who you want to be. And you can be where you want to be and with whom you want to be. And you can even have been who you want to have been. Well, my childhood was kind of tough, although I didn't really think about that at the time. You don't really have much to compare to. But my pa, he was always trying hard, but he never did seem to be able to hold on to a job. Well, I haven't written that many songs, but I try to express what's most deeply on my mind. In virtual reality, you can be someone else. You don't have to be the same boring person all the time.
I feel like I'm looking at murderer evidence right now. It's like
right, totally. I know, it feels like those Hinckley phone calls to Jodie Foster or something. It's like, dude,
that's a lot. That's
put the lotion in the basket.
Yeah, Silence of the Lambs. That's exactly right. It's Silence of the Lambs. Like, I'm a woman. It's like, this is kind of weird, but that's cool because at least he's acknowledging he's just creating an archetype based on his sexist, misogynistic idea of what a woman is. I mean, that's better than most transgender assignments are going, probably. And it's also just an alter ego, and it's showing you the value of virtual reality, because in virtual reality you can have both, so it doesn't become this drastic choice to commit some like hermetic ritual.
Right, it's coming through the back door in more ways than one,
Yeah.
For reals.
Man, in Star Trek there was a dude who had two phalluses. That's where they're going with Revolution. Jonathan Frakes is crazy. Okay, then this is also from Thomas. Well, you found
well, not
anyway.
me, but yeah, I found it. But this is a guy. I mean, that's him on both sides, and the only difference is that the right side, he's running it through a series of stable diffusion, EB synth, and some other post processing stuff. But I mean, this is basically going to be in real time by the end of this year, and anyone will be able to do this pretty soon.
Dude, this is so narcissist, and I don't mean that just in like the way that term is used now. I mean like mythologically. Like the story of Narcissus when he looks in to see his reflection and then looks for it elsewhere, like the whole thing, like, and calls into question nature of the self in the first place, like where are you looking from, I guess, like.
If you look at Japan's having a serious population of dropout because the foreigners are almost starting to surpass the birth rate, the new babies born in Japan, and this is what's happening, is that these people are trying to escape from their sexuality and repressive. I don't know.
Dude, somebody says Uncanny Valley. Can I go off for like 1 minute on something in relationship to Uncanny Valley? So like, that The Shining was said by Kubrick. There's a quote where I'm sure Alex is all over this, but he said that, if the genre of horror required any justification, that Freud's book, The Uncanny, should serve as its credentials, like alone. Like he's like, this one book explains it all. And if you look at Toy Story, Toy Story encodes The Shining in a million different ways. Freud's book, The Uncanny, spoke to what it is that triggers us when something inanimate appears or does like receive life. So like if a small child was playing with a toy and the toy started moving and talking to it, why that would be like one of the most terrifying things imaginable, right? So like that then plays into the whole question of AI in like why he calls the book The Uncanny. Because when there's something that's that unreconcilable, it does something to your psyche. So there's a whole weird thing there. So if you're wondering like like one of the reasons why there's so much of The Shining encoded into Toy Story, like the carpet when he realizes he's not a real astronaut and tries to fly and falls, you know, like all of that stuff. And why 237 shows up so much, it has to do with this book by Freud. Also, there's a whole Andy Kaufman element here too, because like, you know, Man on the Moon, Jim Carrey happens to share a birthday with Andy Kaufman, which is fascinating. But anyway, the kid's name is Andy in the movie. If you know the history of Andy Kaufman, he would play with toys in the attic. That's where he got into his whole character performance thing originally. And so, like, you know, that's, if you watch the music video for Man on the Moon from REM that the movie is named after, it just cuts back and forth between a cowboy and an astronaut through the whole fucking video. Like that, it's yeah. So I'm saying there's actually a sync with that REM album and Toy Story. I have that on the website.
There's also another thing, like, didn't the like Andy Kaufman died like a week after the movie came out, but like,
I didn't know that. I bet you anything
there's some number of years different, but it's like May 26th and May 16th or something like that. There's another thing there, and also Star Wars in May.
There's also, could you look this up, Andreas, really quick? There's stills of The Shining from the guy who did, one of the top guys of Pixar who did Toy Story. Shining, Toy Story should have, so you know at the end of The Shining when there's all those pictures on the wall, like the very last shot, and then it zooms in on Jack at the July 4th ball, that he recreated that wall using all Toy Story characters. So like, and it has in the middle of it the freaking Tom Hanks's character, like in the place of Jack. I don't know, maybe you can't find it as easy as I thought, but that's weird. I keep on putting things out there that I swear to God I've seen. The Jack Parsons in the
to find it. I just try not to.
Oh, sorry, man. Yeah, no, I thought that would just come up.
Picture made The Shining and still freak me out. Is this it? No, somebody did this.
No, this is something else. Yeah,
you look at.
Oh, maybe this. No, that's not it. It's all Shining. It's all Toy Story characters. But yeah, whatever. I'm telling you, these things exist just because you're not finding them on Google nowadays. But yeah.
So we can go back to talk about childhoods and with
there's one.
Danny Torrance wearing the Apollo 11 shirt, right, and with a Saturn launch pad. So it's really about time, don't think about the cycle of time with the
somewhere there's an image of all of these images together done by that Pixar guy, and they're all laid out in the format of those pictures at the end of The Shining. That exists somewhere. Yeah, sorry.
Hidden away from me. I don't know. Hopefully anyone ever finds that link, let me know.
The Jim Carrey thing, I mean, expands outward into more. I mean,
yeah, with
Dumb and Dumber, because we landed on the moon, and he's at the bar talking.
We landed on the moon,
and no way. And that's filmed in the Stanley Hotel, which is where The Shining was written. And the bartender is played by this guy who would go on to play in Kingpin, the next film by the Farrelly brothers, a character named Stanley Osmansky, Ozman.
Oh,
and he steals their $42,000, which he then doubles by betting against him, so it becomes $84,000. And then the Farrelly brothers go out and they make There's Something About Mary, which releases 237 days before Kubrick dies. And then Being John Malkovich comes out 237 days after. And they both have Cameron Diaz in them. And there's a whole lot more. So
yeah, you said this before and I repeat it, but yeah, that's a big one for me. Like that Being John Malkovich came out 237 days after Stanley Kubrick's death.
Yeah, in theaters, limited release, and some other movies did too. And then so that day is 237 days after his death, but then Christmas Day is 42 weeks after his death. And then also, Christmas Day 1999 was when The Ninth Gate came out.
Oh, right.
Which premiered earlier the year on the 237th day of 1999. So it gets
and the Ninth Gate is the corollary to Eyes Wide Shut.
Right.
And there's also the Green Man thing, and that was like an early sync blog trip out, was like how often Jim Carrey was associated with the archetypal Green Man. So like, or the Fool. So like it's like in throughout the posters, you look at like Ace Ventura, the pose that he's in is like from the Thoth deck, and then in Yes Man, he's in the pose from the Rider deck, and it's like even with the dog with him too. It's just like super, and yeah, he's repeatedly the Green Man, the mask. There's just Jake Coates has done a good job with
that would be related to what they used to call the green cubes of Saturn or whatever that associated those things symbols together.
The Riddler is my favorite because he's got the freaking Moses staff, you know.
Yeah, but you know what? There's an article just came out. They said that NASA just discovered a question mark galaxy. A question mark galaxy.
You know what that question mark's about? That question mark's about how his house didn't burn down along with Oprah Winfrey's and etc. Yeah. Sorry. Not sorry. I say sorry. It's how I got that percentage of Ashkenazi in me. It just says sorry over and over again.
So they mean like literally? They mean it literally? Are they literally saying it's the shape of a question mark? That's what they're saying.
Yeah,
okay.
That picture sure is.
It's supposed to be like a gravitational vortex where it was being sucked into the star. That's why it has that.
This was published on 8/9, so don't discount that. The whole Lionsgate phenomenon.
Sharon Tate,
which is really just 237,000 hours after Kubrick's birthday and Carl Jung's birthday.
Wow.
What's the Lionsgate?
Yeah, we talked about this. What is it last time? What was the deal with the Lionsgate again? There's like an astronomical
thing. Like
bears
to me.
Yeah, but what's the astronomical explanation of Lionsgate? Because Ninth Gate was released by Lionsgate, interestingly enough. Yeah, what was the deal? We went over it before. You guys don't. I don't. Yeah, we.
It's complicated. It's like the alignment of Sirius is like centered with the glass. Can't remember. But it's like when the Manson murders happened and Nixon resigned and lots of other stuff.
Astrologically, we talked about the Lionsgate portal and like what it means when it's the time of Leo or something. But I don't remember specifically what we said about the Lionsgate.
Does this relate to the Vallis loop from Philip K. Dick?
Okay, you guys heard of the what's it, the Orion's belt correlation theory, right? With the Giza pyramids.
Right?
Sure. And it's the last time they actually lined up was actually when the Sphinx was facing the rise of the constellation Leo from the rise of.
Yeah, that was a Graham Hancock thing, right? That was his contribution. Like he came up with that, right? Or discovered it or whatever.
He's not him, but his friend. What's his name? The French guy, the Belgian guy. What's his name? Jeez. Because correlation theory was not Graham Hancock's discovery.
Oh, I thought that was one of the big controversial things about him. I guess it was just that he was spreading that and talking about it, maybe. But,
he's promoting it. Yeah, it's who discovered it? Hold on, it is. Robert Duvall. No, Duvall. Robert Ball. B-A-L.
I was gonna say THX thing, but never mind.
What about Eddie? You've got this thing on the Candyman. You're talking about the serial killer's last unidentified victim has seen a new image.
Or maybe I should have a preface. Which is that I've been on this 23 sync for quite.
The 23 Enigma with Robert Anton Wilson and William Burroughs, etc. Yes.
Discordia. Also Eris. Eris is here's another sync with that. Eris is a new coronavirus that just came out. Eris. So we're talking about Discordia.
You're not allowed to name a coronavirus Eris. That's too Discordian. Really?
Look it up. Yeah, this is
now when I say
you didn't know that, Andreas.
You? I don't pay attention to COVID. I don't listen to.
No. I thought you were talking about you didn't know about Discordia. Okay.
I look into I adapt.
You know about Discordia. You're just not on the
Discordia. Not this.
No,
nonsense.
there was a miscommunication there. Never mind.
Yeah. COVID Eris strain. Let's look it up though. I'm sure the Eris, hail Eris, hail Eris, hail Eris. I'm sorry, it's a gut reaction.
Yeah.
It's 23. 2023.
The symptoms, how dangerous it is, and whether vaccines should work. Wow, this is going to be fun. So, for those of you not in the know, I guess, which could be like 3 or 4 people, is like in Discordia, which is this awesome religion, not a web service that people chat on. It has to do with chaos, kind of, but chaos is more chaos.
The goddess of chaos, Eris, is the Roman name, and Discordia is the Greek name.
Was it Thornley who was with JFK's Patsy shooter? What's his name?
Kerry Thornley. Lee
Yeah,
Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, Lee Harvey Oswald. So they were so Thornley kind of founded Discordianism, or it was a group, or what was the deal? Do you know, guys?
I mean, he was definitely important. So what was his deal? He founded.
He was like the prophet of it. Sort of wrote the religious text, Principia Discordia.
He started.
So he served in Vietnam with.
He was raised Mormon, and so he ended up kind of figured out what was really going on in Mormonism and kind of dismantled it. And it's like, we really don't need all that stuff. We could just get back to like the roots of like folk magic and folk tradition. And also it's kind of like a misunderstanding about what chaos is, because chaos, after they came with Discordia, mathematicians became obsessed with chaos theory, because it has to do with chaos is the grace that the knot that ties grace together, ties the coherency together. And so it's maybe kind of like if you were to say pi is a chaotic number because we're using a kind of math that makes it seem chaotic, but chaos is really just something we don't understand. It doesn't mean that it's incomprehensible or just junk. I think that's
right. Isn't that kind of the irony of Discordianism, is that it's an acknowledgement that there is ultimately no Discordianism, like because that's it's like an anti-religion or something. Yeah.
But it says
it's sort of related to the Church of the Subgenius.
The purity is beyond anything comprehensible by the plebeian. There's no way you can like traverse to a bridge to understand it. So you just have to live and be grateful for what you have in this world. But there's a lot of positivity to Discordianism. It's not evil, and I think it's kind of, but it's interesting when people bring up
trickster stuff.
Yeah, and people will talk about making plans and how if you want to make God laugh, tell her your plans, because she's not in your plans. I mean, you have to figure out how.
John Lennon said that, and look what happened to him.
Yeah, see, right?
He's told his plans where he's going that night.
So Andreas, if you want to go back to the picture that you first showed, right? So that was a Candyman sink. Because Candyman, in the movie, right? He, the actor, what's his name? The black actor. So because they're using real bees. They're putting real bees in his mouth. So they had a contract saying anytime he gets stung by the bee, he gets $1,000. So altogether, the 23 bees that stung him, and then so I posted that randomly. Yeah. So I posted that randomly, and then 3 days later, here comes the Candyman serial killer's last unidentified victim.
Did you guys see the remake from Jordan Peele produced or whatever? Was that any good?
Didn't see it.
Was it any good? It was me. Okay.
I like the original one versus the new one, but it's like just such a predictable thing to say. No.
Yeah, but probably fair. I don't know. I'll check out the original. That seems reasonable. I don't know. Just the idea that Eris is being used for the name. I mean, like now you're getting into some pretty interesting stuff when you start naming your viruses after like goddesses of chaos, right? There was a whole thing where people were sharing memes that were associated with chaos goddesses, and there's like a what was the in Africa, the Ebola Chan? You guys remember Ebola Chan? Shame on me right now for bringing this up, but Ebola Chan was an internet meme that anthropomorphized the Ebola virus, and a lot of people believe that it charged and charged the symbol of the Ebola. Yeah, you have been visible. Yeah, this is, and they think that this actually worked. Right.
I know. I don't know this one, man. You were deep at that time more than I was.
So I think that there's something to be said about like charging sigils, and a lot of these autists on 4chan that are charging symbols of 4chan telling, I think is really what it was. And that was, kind of made more the case with like the Trump 7777777 straight along the lines.
Oh, all the way. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot of those things going on.
Yeah. The stock market crashes too. Talking about pi. But yeah,
but I think we're doing that. Like, so this is like I was saying, you really ought to be careful with this stuff, kids. Don't just play with charging up an Ebola sigil. That's a bad idea. It's like worse than the Exorcist movie. It's like obviously that's not going to work out. But isn't that kind of the same thing of naming your virus Eris? Like, why would you?
Yeah, it's kind of Fight Club, isn't it? You were running around in ski masks. What did you think was going to happen?
I made a sigil. Actually, it's on my wall. I gotta show. Somewhere up here. Yes,
I got one also while you're finding that. Oh, did you find it? Oh,
I printed that because I started to feel like the ghost app. I started to attract ghosts into my room.
Gotta be careful.
That's a repellent.
Yeah. A little bit of thought up there. What's this, Alex?
Oh yeah, you were talking about the 23 Enigma, so I just brought this up. That Lauren Coleman just brought up today. This is A Tale of Two Cities from 1935, and he writes. You don't have the video there, but he writes 23. There's a 7 there that's sort of scratched out. I don't know the full context, but it kind of blows my mind. I love it finding this stuff in the 30s, going as far back as possible.
Oh, totally.
And the whole fact that he writes 23, but 7 is there, but sort of smudged out is like kind of my whole thought of the whole 23 Enigma thing. It's like the 7 is the clincher. You got to have the 7 in there.
Hey, what were the numbers on the lift in Metropolis when Maria's taking all the workers and they're going all crazy and she busts through the bars?
Don't remember.
I feel like that. So with the Fame Monster, that's that part when they show that is when it says. The lyrics say, "Find your Jesus, find your Kubrick."
Right. Yeah, we watched that. That was very strange.
Never mind. I don't know if you're gonna find it in screenshots.
But Metropolis, I wanted to say before, is that the thing with that is connected to 2001: A Space Odyssey, the premieres of both films, both towering sci-fi films. The midpoint is the day the CIA opened for business. September 18th, 1947. And it's 2003 days total. So it's like a 153 interval. Midpoint is the birth of opening the CIA's doors. So it's interesting why that it would be.
Yeah. I like that came up the other day. The thing with the apes. I don't remember what we were responding to. You were responding to something. Yeah. So what was the deal? What did it say, Alex?
Oh, I don't remember what we were replying to, but something about the guys in the monkey suits must have felt really weird or something on set, like being monkeys.
No, there's something else going on there, but no, it was that the Moonwatcher, the ape known as Moonwatcher, that was the director of photography for John Lennon's Imagine video.
Right. Yeah.
And that one gets me. I don't know, man.
Dan Richter. He was just a kid. He was basically a mime. He was a mime. Actually, he was literally a mime that they brought in, and he wrote a whole memoir about it, his experience. He was like a junkie at the time, and he was hiding it from Kubrick, and eventually he figured it out, but he was just like, oh really? He was just kind of more curious about it than anything.
So this year that this came out, this was the year that Planet of the Apes at the Oscars got a new award that they didn't have before for best makeup effects. And so they gave the makeup effects Oscar. They made it up for Planet of the Apes the same year that these apes are going around. And the reason that Arthur C. Clarke said that happened was because he really believed that they didn't know that there were people in ape suits.
Oh yeah. I remember reading that. Yeah, that's hilarious because it's just
because Arthur C. Clarke was racist.
There's no. Well, that's true. Time War. What is that about? Time War.
I mean, yeah, that's the question. So that's the other thing. So I know like nobody's watching the new Star Trek Discovery because it's woke and evil, but like again, Starship Troopers is evil, so you shouldn't like hate.
More because it's boring than anything.
People. I thought that too, but it's like, dude, when you got a gay guy injecting mushrooms into his own leg so that he can like save his gay boyfriend in space. I don't know. Maybe I'm just from California. Like that didn't bother me. I thought it was a good show.
No.
It happens often though when the premise is more interesting than the final product.
Oh, that's for sure. Yeah, Jonathan Frakes probably took mushrooms. Like, here's what we're gonna do. There's gonna be tardigrades in Star Wars in Star Trek. It's horrible. I get you there. But like the Bill and Ted mycelial space-time network. That's what it is. They're traveling through this mycelial networks, and there's multiverses. And to be fair, it's like Star Trek's not that good. I'll admit that. And so for this to be like not that good is kind of congruous and authentic to what Star Trek is, which is not. Yeah,
they're
good.
all the every
it's
episode
not great.
It's every
like
series
woke,
is kind of weird.
It's always fascistic. It's about
Communist.
a military power in space. And like, yeah, if there's going to be gays in the military, it's going to be in like the secret intelligence wing, that don't ask and don't tell about other stuff anyway. Like it all
part and parcel to the whole NASA rocketry spectacle thing. And I'll mention again, because it's so crazy, that Captain Kirk and Spock, Shatner and Nimoy, were both born within days of each other, and those days were in the 666th month of Aleister Crowley's life.
So there's a dude who's raped by Klingons, and then they like cut him up and put Klingon in him, and then he has to present as human. Like they say, present as human. Like it's kind of worth it.
Do they get into pronouns and stuff?
It's like, about whether he's human or Klingon. I mean, it's I don't know what I'm
Klingons
watching.
have pronouns?
That's all I'm saying. It's a little weirder than I expected. So there's that. Okay,
I just watched Men in Black 3.
Oh yeah,
for the first
that's a
time.
great movie. I would
It's kind of
talk
funny.
why we're not talking about Ed Solomon. I've been like talking to Ed Solomon. Let's like.
Oh
hope
yeah, you
we
brought
can
that
get
up.
him in here. Yeah,
That was why I watched it, because I had never actually I missed it when it came out, and nobody
did
told
he
me
have
that.
anything to do with the third one or not?
I don't know. Probably
The
I
third
have no
one's
idea.
amazing. I don't know if he did or not. Like the first one's my favorite, but the third one is a close competitor, kind of like Starship Troopers.
It's not
The third
bad.
one's good. I mean that it's all about the multiverse. It has a serious man,
Time
like the Coen
travel.
brother guy.
Yeah,
Like the Coen-
Stuhlgart.
Yeah.
He's great.
I thought it was
And
I
it
highly
was
recommend it.
Randy Macho Man Savage as the villain, who jumps out of a giant space prison on the moon and then just
That
screams.
was
And,
good. Randy Savage character.
but there's this whole time travel plot, and it turns it into like a loop, which I didn't really realize or expect that that ties the whole thing together with Jay being
went full 12 monkeys.
yeah, exactly, which I thought was a nice touch.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it all
Laptop's about
centers
to die.
on-
Hold on, let me plug this in.
It all centers on July 16th, 1969 being a key date of when they launched the Saturn rocket, and that's when the climax of the whole thing takes place, is on the rocket launch, and it's a real spectacle. But then there's this great scene with Bill Hader, and they go back in time to the 60s. Jay does, and they go to one of Warhol's be-ins or whatever, and they have to talk to Warhol, and you expect that he's going to be in it like Warhol's an alien, but it turns out that he's one of the men in black, like working undercover to
clearly
the counterculture or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's played by Bill Hader, and that's the best scene in the movie because
in real life, after he got shot,
that's Bill Hader's thing.
He surrounded himself after he got shot. He surrounded himself with only transvestite bodyguards who took steroids. So there's a lot of interesting stuff about Andy Warhol that is left out.
Sure.
And he was just filming everything all the time. I mean,
There's that other guy, Victor Hugo, who just fucked everybody over, literally, laterally. Like that guy with who's the guy who Halston? He fucked over Halston and he fucked over Warhol. It's so weird.
So the MIB, Tommy Lee Jones, who was played by Josh Brolin here, is named K. We know what that stands for. And so the great line that I love that I'm going to quote is that he was like, "You got to fake my death, K. You got to fake my death. I got to get out of here. This is awful." But just the whole idea of K is faking people's death. With cryptocubrology and Kubrick, the Wizard of Oz behind all this stuff. It's just it's in and I didn't know any of this going into watching the movie. You know, that's the thing. Like, I just decided to put it on, and it's all there. It's in everything.
In retrospect, Men in Black 2 is not bad either, where they buy the time travel machine or the brainwasher on eBay. That was good. Oh, Eddie.
I missed what you said there.
Eddie so fast. I was the Men in Black 2, where they buy the brainwashing machine on eBay. That was
right. Good. I didn't like that one as much.
I hated it at the time, but now I look back and I'm like, you know what? Considering what I'm eating these days, I could definitely go back and eat a nice Men in Black 2 steak. You know, that's where we're at with this world. Well, Eddie, I hope he gets back on here because I was about to start showing people's links. So I'll give Eddie a second to return. But you know what? Cryptocubrology. Make sure you guys check out Alex's channel. He's got a lot of cool stuff he's doing on Twitter. X. Don't dead name it. There we go.
There he is.
Yeah. Is that him?
Thank you.
Is he jumping in? All right. But make sure you go to twitter.com or x.com/cryptocubrology. Like and follow. Look at how many people are following this guy already. It's just growing.
Almost 1,700.
It's like viral marketing.
It is.
You know what I mean? That's what's happening. Tale of Two Cities. He's been doing a lot of good stuff. I really like it. So check that out. Also, Eddie, where are you? Come back, Eddie. Well, if you do come back, but even if you don't, go to Synchronous on x.com. Check out all of his amazing.
He said he's got to go.
Oh, he's disappeared. He's at the end of his time. All right. Well, we're leaving anyway, but you can see all of Eddie's amazing links here, and he's got a lot of synchronicity work, and it's amazing. So we love it. We love you, Eddie. See you next time. And then go to thesyncbook.com where you can click on videos and you can find all of the videos that David's putting out, which are based. I mean, here's Poltergeist and E.T. with the Mogwai, Mr. B, saw that. We talked about that before. But also Starship Troopers is down here somewhere. I don't know how far I'd have to go.
It's at the very bottom, actually, or very close to the very bottom. But
Starship Super Troopers. One of my favorite. I will do this over and over again. ABBA and Starship Troopers. This is just always a good time. So make sure you check that out. Also, go to David. Sorry, I was going to say go to your Twitter because you've got all your videos up there now too.
Well, I'm doing it every day that I'm at my house. I'm putting up another video. So today I put up The Wiz and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. So yeah.
There it is right now. There. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
if you want your mind really blown, go to the first time that the album repeats, where they go to the World Trade Center, and that'll be "Love Lies Bleeding in My Hands" with that scene. It's pretty next level. Yeah.
Amazing.
That would make
work.
that movie a lot more watchable, I think.
Also, make sure you go to Paranoid American. Oh, really quickly, got a super comment. So thank you very much. Sticky Marks, we love you. She says, let's do the time warp again. It's just a jump to the far right. Love ya and great guests. I used to get called Commie. Now I'm Clan. Stay cool. Yeah, but it's just keep being weird, and they're going to call you both back and forth. It's going to get to the point where they're like, they're going to treat you like Socrates. That's all you can do. Just hope that they don't kill you like without a unanimous vote. So
what does hemlock smell like, anyways?
I don't know. Probably like skullcap or like kind of like weedy. I'm not really sure. Make sure you go to paranoidamerican.com where you can actually help Thomas find out what hemlock smells like. Invest in an MK Ultra pamphlet or 5. Maybe get a bunch of them so you can send them out to your buddies and comrades and friends and put them on people's cars and let them know about the true nature of the CIA mind control and MK Ultra experiments, as well as how to make your own homunculus, which is pretty important these days because a lot of kids are making their own homunculus. You don't want to be the last one at school with your own. You'll be like, Mom, why don't I have a homunculus? So don't.
This is the new back to school thing. Yeah, don't get caught without like the Air Jordans and the homunculus. And I also want to mention I just dropped a kind of a soft release teaser at a new project that I've been working on for maybe 2 years now on my Twitter called Frazzle Drip Funhouse.
Oh,
and
shit.
It's gonna be a very adult only.
Yeah, I think you just used like the one word that might get us in trouble, but whatever.
Maybe.
Well, honestly, I put it up on YouTube and I put the F word as many times as I could in the description, and I saw it got monetized. So yeah, it's narrated by AI Vincent Price too. So the video.
This is gonna be a baller.
Wow, crazy.
Thomas, I'm jealous. You did it. This
will come out sometime in October because it's gonna have an overlap with Halloween probably.
We're gonna need to talk next time a bit about how Google is signing licenses to generate music and the voices of famous musicians so that people can keep listening to new music made up every second, and that's kind of like the basis for what is already happening. But Thomas, you're already doing it. You're already making AI generated animated arts and God, it's amazing. Just amazing stuff. Guys, make sure you're subscribed to Paranoid American or Paranoid America if you're
they didn't let me put the N in. It was too long.
Yeah, well, because
we don't have the technology.
There's a lot of reasons why they took that N away from you, bro, and I think it's probably for your best. You're lucky. Okay, there was another. Did I do Alex Fulton, David? I was going to go to tartarynova.com. Make sure you guys go to tartarynova.com. All right. I love you. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye.